All right, people, we're going into freshly pressed right now. Did I get it right? Yes, I did. Smooth 98.1. Here we are. It's gone past 7:30 for a Friday morning. This is Freshly Pressed on Smooth Breakfast. I'm Shukma Martins.
I'm Victor Purple. Let's bring you detailed analysis of some of the big stories this morning. You can be part of the show by sending a message to us on WhatsApp 0809 444 You can also send a tweet at smooth981fm. And we're streaming live on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. It's youtube.com/, smooth981fm Lagos.
And getting into the details with us for the next half hour, we have got Waji, the corporate MC. You can find him on that handle on social media, corporate spelled with a K. Hello, Waji. How you doing?
Morning, Shock Bear. How are you? What's happening, Mr. Pepple? And good morning, Lagos.
Good
Oh,
morning.
I like this energy. Bring it. Okay, so we've got stories for you. Let's get into them. There's no point in us making you wait. So, starting off this day newspaper now, domestic airlines may halt operations as aviation fuel price rises to 618 naira per liter. Now, this after oil marketers informed them that of the cost of the aviation fuel going up, the express fares that some of them might have to ground their operations due to the high cost of the product, which is now over 60% of their cost of operations. What I mean, this is not surprising in terms of we've seen cost of operations go up across the board, across industries, and upsetting news keeps coming out to we the consumers. But tell us what you think.
Yeah, it's a real shame, especially when you think about the aviation group that went to the House of Representatives and to Congress to more or less make appeals on how they can rectify this challenge around the rising cost of aviation fuel. And at that particular time, it had gone and landed somewhere around 500, and it was causing gigantic disruptions to their ability to operate.
Yeah, now this is coming from an industry or to an industry that was already having to deal with the fallout of the pandemic and the lockdowns
Exactly.
and the complete fall in travel.
Right, and you also, excuse me, and you also have to remember that this is also an industry that doesn't report very high margins when it comes to profitability to begin with, even pre-COVID. You're looking at things in the low teens to sometimes in single-digit profitability that airlines in general report. It's not a highly profitable business to own an airline. That's number one. Then to your point, COVID now came and completely ravaged it. A lot of airlines had to come to an absolute halt because of things outside of their controls, which had to do with air restrictions and everything else. And now the third component that airlines are now having to deal with is now these double whammies when it comes to the cost of aviation fuel. Like I was saying, it went up to 500 naira in March. They went to figure out a way to appeal to have some kind of intervention to make it better. And then now it apparently has gone up to 680 naira. There's only but so much you can transfer to the consumer.
Yeah, they're saying that they are going to think of taking it to government.
Yeah,
directly.
because the Onyema, who owns Airpeace, made a statement back in March about the best way that this can be resolved is if you deregulate and allow airlines to begin to import their own aviation fuel.
Right.
Because if they have that accessibility to do that, then they're not dependent on the major marketers, and that can allow at least give them some breathing
little
room
margin.
with regards to their margins. But of course, that was never going to be approved. But it was a very forthcoming solution. And then now, even at that particular point, when it went to 500 naira, they had to make some drastic choices around having a minimum fair amount per route. So you're looking at something like 50,000 naira for a single route that falls between the timeline of 45 minutes to an hour. So it's just a big, gigantic issue. And for me, that's not the conversation, Shakbay. The conversation which we keep ignoring is what do we need to do from a long-term situation, long-term solution. And we have to get our refineries back on board. Until we get our refineries back on board, we are going to be subject to things we cannot control.
Yes.
If we were refining the crude that naturally comes out of the ground that we step on a daily basis, we won't be having this conversation.
Well,
So
however, we heard news yesterday that some of our local refiners saying that they didn't have access to crude to refine because NNPC was more focused on exporting it.
yeah,
And,
but
yeah.
it's a connected conversation. So when you look at the local refineries complaining, then you need to now ask NNPC why is that? Why is your focus on exports versus refining? You can equally make money by making sure that these refineries come online, and then you can just have a highly crash rate. But you look at it from a volume business point of view, you're going to make money. So it's a connected conversation, but we need to get the refineries back online. the ones that are able to produce the capacity required for the aviation industry specifically, and then for every other industry possible.
Well, yeah, I would say
You know,
that we've needed to do that for a number of
oh, for like 40
for
something years.
decades.
Yeah.
So,
Hmm.
do you have do you have any thoughts as to whether or not we're actually going to fulfill that need and make that need,
Do I have any thoughts?
Yes, because considering the fact that we've had that need for decades
Uh
now
huh.
and it still has not been met and we have not done anything about it as a state, then you're here this morning saying we need that and we need
Yeah.
to talk about the long term.
Hmm. The
People
optimist,
have been saying that for a long time
the
now.
the optimist in me believes that change is around the corner, but the pragmatist in me tells me otherwise. I don't know if that's the best way I can answer that
Oh
question.
my goodness, you're living in a state of cognitive dissonance.
I am a Nigerian.
It must be painful.
It is.
All right, so let's move on now to the Guardian newspaper, where this headline quite interesting. I don't know how to feel about this, but hey, you listening right now can be part of the show, like we said, by sending in messages on WhatsApp 0809 4440981. YG from the Guardian, more worries for telecoms subscribers as federal government plans 5% duty on recharge cards. And while Nigerians are yet to come to terms with the planned 40% hike in the telecommunications, services tariffs by operators, it appears more pains will be inflicted in the coming days, as the report has it that the federal government has approved collection of 5% excise duty on telephone recharge cards and vouchers. So just to put a backstory to this, there's a proposal on the floor of the House which will see an increase from about 6.4 naira to 8.95 naira if this is approved by NCC, and then SMSs from about 4 naira to 6 naira. In fact, I hear this new directive of the 5% on duty for recharge cards. The president actually gave the directive.
Mm.
This is according to newsmen. Waji, how do you? What's your reaction to this?
Well, for me, it's very straightforward. I always like to ask when there's a tax hike, what is the purpose of the hike?
Mm.
Tax is meant to now, revenue from tax is meant to go towards the development of any society that you're in. And that could be in the form of infrastructure, it can be in the form of healthcare, it can be in the form of education, it can be in the form of security. So, on the aspect of the telecommunications taxes that are being levied on them from a duty point of view, my question is why? Why are you now coming for the telecommunication industries and levying tax on them? I mean, in the article, there are various reasons that they put in. Of course, the most common one, which I think is just quite fortunate at this time, is the war in Russia and Ukraine. I'm wondering if the cobalt needed to be able to produce the materials for you to now run a telecommunications company is coming directly from Russia, Ukraine. I actually thought it was coming from somewhere in Zambia, but I can be corrected if necessary. But it now comes back to a point of government fiscal responsibility and making accounts for where these things go. There's nothing wrong in taxes and duties, but I think the issue is the applicability of it. Are we going to get better services? Are we going to get better experiences when it comes to these things that you're actually levying taxes on? There has to be a justification for why people pay more. You can't just do it.
Judiciously apply
Exactly.
taxes.
Judiciously apply taxes. Yeah.
If this is to generate revenue for governments, then I would ask. Sometime last year or 2 years ago, in 2020, we saw an increase VAT, value added tax, from 5% to 7.5. Nigerians would ask, with the huge revenue generated from the increase in VAT, why are we still borrowing?
You see, this is a fantastic question. So, to your point, why are we raising taxes? I love what you just said. Generating revenue for government, not for Nigeria, for government. And those are two very distinct things. So, if it's a revenue drive for government, then okay, that's what they're doing. But isn't government the people? Isn't government set up to serve the people? Isn't government set up to secure the people? So those revenues should also be enjoyed and positively impacted on the people, not those specifically in government that were elected to that particular position, which is where the challenge is. And I see that it's not just in the telecommunications industry; it's also going for luxury tax, luxury goods as well. That this there's a proposed increase that's also on the floor as well. So I've always said that Nigerian governments need to be very intellectually honest about what they're doing. It cannot just be about them and themselves alone, or at least the appearance of it. Try, even from a narrative and optics point of view, include Nigerians in this revenue generating scheme that you're coming up with.
Okay, message in from Yinka Bolu. Trying to load it. But, well, we'll get to that message in just a bit. He says, how does one explain that cost of diesel and aviation fuel is going up and Shell, for example, just declared a profit? This is what I was saying yesterday about all of us bearing the brunt, not just the consumers alone. It's wicked and unfair. Well, it goes on to say Shell declares $20 billion in 2021, and already the first quarter of 2022, they declared $9.1 billion.
Whoa, first quarter alone. Almost half of what they profited in all of 2021. Quite interesting. Samuel comes in with a message. He says, this country is broke, very broke. The government has lost every avenue to make money, so taxes and more borrowing. But does the government even ask us, the citizens, if we have this money? How many people have received April salary, private or public? Does the government even ask if we are yesterday? Okay.
So I just want to jump in on that comment because I think it's a very important point about Nigeria being broke. Nigeria is not broke. Nigeria is bankrupt. There's a big difference between the two. And I'd like to ask everyone to just go on Google and do a search on what is the difference between being broke and being bankrupt. I know it's interchangeable, but Nigeria is not broke. We are bankrupt because bankrupt is a function of your policies that now cripple you. Broke is a function of you just not having cash.
All right, so we'll take this other message before we move on. It's from Faruche. He says the conversation between you and Waji is quite interesting. Um, you guys don't just educate us, you also make us feel good, especially with. It's okay. Thank you very
Thank you for the
much.
compliment, Faruche. It's fantastic.
It's okay.
Up on YouTube, Jibril Garzali saying, watching live from my beautiful village, Okpala. Welcome, welcome. You can be in Lagos, on YouTube. I love it. All right, so let's take a look at this article in from the Punch newspaper. Navy intercepts 10.7 billion naira stolen crude oil and others in April. Now, a statement on Wednesday by the Director of Information, Adedotu Ayon Vaughan, saying that the Navy-led operation Dakata Dabarawo recorded remarkable achievements, saying that it saved the country from losing this amount to oil thieves and economic saboteurs. And the article goes on. We talked about 148 illegal refinery sites deactivated, 650,000 liters of sludge recovered, lots and lots of information given to us. Now, what's the story for you?
Yeah, the story is lots of information given to us, but you haven't told us who the perpetrators are. You haven't told us why they're stealing it, where they were taking it to, and where they got it from. So you can report in quite specific details onto the amounts and the specific crude refined elements that were seized, which is great. But I need to know more. I need naming and shaming. I need to know who the perpetrators are. I need to know the individuals that are going to be taken to court and tried. I need to know who they're associated with and the purpose and the intent behind what they did. That we need to get more information about. So it's one thing for the Navy to celebrate that they were able to make this interception, but it's, I think, another point that we need to get to the bottom of, like, who on earth are these individuals and why are they doing what they're doing?
Roger, does there seem to be a price ceiling on naming and shaming?
Yes, there is, I think. Yeah,
Because we only seem to get up to a certain level before the names suddenly disappear into thin air.
Yeah, so you just tell us, oh, we seized cargo X at this time, and we were able to get this amount of XYZ as well, but that's where the information stops.
So what does naming and shaming do for you for the cause, in your opinion?
Well, I think it will serve as some kind of, in my hope, it will deter future criminals from going about this kind of behavior, because if they know that they're going to be embarrassed and their name is going to be publicly shamed, that would hopefully prevent individuals from perpetrating future crimes, in my opinion. Yeah.
All right, well, there you have it. What's your opinion, Lagos? Make sure you send your messages in. WhatsApp, the number is 0809 440 981. Take it to youtube.com/smooth981fm Lagos and leave your comments up on the live stream. And we're also on Twitter at smooth981fm. Tag us in your message. Use the hashtag freshlypress981 and, of course, tag Waji as well. He is at the corporate MC with a K.
Let's take you to the Punch newspaper, where varsity researchers suspend strike as federal government meets SANU and NASU. The Academic Staff Union of Research Institutions has suspended its strike. It commenced last October over unresolved issues with the federal government. Now, the union disclosed in a letter to the Minister of Labour and Employment, and it was signed by the Secretary General of the association. Are we going to see ASU also drop their sword and come to the negotiation table and say, oh, let's just reach a truce. So we put all of this behind us and the students get back to the classrooms.
I really hope so because every day that this strike continues, the impact that it has on individuals in higher education, and then you're just now losing time and losing talent and losing that conversion period of when an individual needs to be educated versus when they get into the workforce. We need more talent in the workforce because more talent in the workforce makes a contribution to the economy. A contribution to the economy is the betterment for all Nigerians. And when you have individuals who are educated stalling in that pathway, it's a problem. So I do hope that ASU come to the table and the federal government does the right thing by making sure that they're well taken care of so that we can just avoid this issue once and for all.
All right, and we'll take a look at this one now from the Vanguard newspaper. Apapa congestion, Lagos to begin Badagry Seaport's construction. Now, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu making the disclosure yesterday at the All Markets Conference 2022, and he said that this new seaport is would well. I'm going to say hopefully reduce the congestion at the Apapa seaports. Waji, what's your take on this?
I don't believe it, and I'll tell you why. I mean, I was a long-term resident of Apapa, and the issue has never been about the efficacy or the amount of seaports. The issue has always been around how do you offload those goods from the ports to various locations around Nigeria. The way that our seaports were designed in the 60s and 70s, when you now begin to look at the master plan around these, they were designed to have rail connectivity from the ports to various parts of Nigeria, whether it's going to the southwest, the middle belt, the southeast, or even northern Nigeria and other aspects of the country. That is how it was supposed to be designed. We were not designed to have vehicular traffic transporting goods and services from the ports to other parts of the country.
And we have obviously seen the effects of having
Yes.
just vehicular
So
transport.
it doesn't matter whether you complete a Lekki seaport, which they're saying is going to be done by 2022, or you now increase another seaport to have one in Badagry. If you do not ensure that the rail networks are working, you're just going to have an expanded network of vehicular traffic of these trailers and tankers moving goods from one port to another or from one location to another. So what you're just going to do is replicate the Apapa disaster to other parts of Lagos. Fix the rail so that way you can transport from sea to various locations. It's not a modern. I'm not saying anything that is revolutionary. It is something that should have been done 50 years ago.
Well, do you see? This is the question I was going to ask, and you've already started to fill it in for me. So I was about to say it's not rocket science, it's not revolutionary, right?
Right.
Why isn't it being done?
Because we just can't be bothered, and there's no will or compunction to do it. That's why we don't do it.
Let's look at the Punch newspaper now. Forex remittances crashed by 48% amid dollar shortage. That's according to a CBN report. And now let's peep into that story together. The country's total direct remittances dropped by $119.4 million to $130.12 million as of January 2022 from $249.52 million as of December 2021. That's figures obtained from the Central Bank of Nigeria. Now, the development indicates a 48%, over a period of 1 month, 48% YG. I mean, Forex remittances is crashing by 48% amid dollar shortages. What does this, mean for Nigerians or for Nigeria as a country?
Okay, that's a loaded question. So let me just start with that. What does it mean? It just means that the line item on direct inflows of forex is just going to be depleted. That's basically what it means, and that can have an impact on the availability that Nigerians have access to forex to be able to make import purchases, because we're still import dependent no matter how you like it, unfortunately. So that's one aspect. The second aspect, which always just blows my mind completely, is I always love it when CBN come out and report when CBN come out and report these particular issues as though they are not the reasons why remittances are low. That's just what always kind of blows my mind. It is poor CBN fiscal and monetary policies that are causing these issues. You are not making your financial instruments environment to be attractive for people to want to send money. If people are sending money and then access to that money is going to be crippling or is going to be challenging and is going to be some long, big, drawn out conversation, then why on earth should I continue? If I'm going to send money, if I happen to be living in the diaspora, whatever part of the diaspora, and I want to send some money to a relative, and that relative accessing that cash in hard currency so they can be able to use it for different things becomes a long conversation, then why on earth would I continue to do that? And that's where people are not having the right conversation. So I think CBN need to take a step back. As they're reporting this, they also need to look inward and ask themselves, are we even putting forth favorable, encouraging, exciting policies that would further encourage these remittances from the diaspora?
You're feeling very optimistic today, aren't you, Waji?
Am I?
Has self-reflection ever been a part of the characteristic of these bodies that we're talking about?
No.
Okay, then.
Yeah.
All right,
So you are feeling quite optimistic.
let's look at some of the messages on the WhatsApp portal. Joseph comes in. He says the government isn't sincere in governance and policy implementations. Why multiple charges, taxation, electricity billing have been hiked for darkness. Now 5% on recharge cards. Corruption is the word of the day. God bless us. All right, that's Joseph from Bijigbo. We also have this other one here.
from Orov, who says these thieves do not have their souls anymore. Going on to say that it's a hydra-headed problem. The only solution is if there's a political will to take them on brutally to a logical conclusion. Corruption to the roots. Are we ready for it?
Yinka Bolu comes in again, says, YG on the seaport's view of yours. Flesh and blood didn't reveal that to you. Spot on. So I was just thinking that that is this YG the okay, and he goes on that he should be advisor to the governors.
He's saying if Waji in the studio can think like this, then what exactly are the advisors to the governor getting paid for? So, he says, "Maybe there's water near Banana Island. Why aren't they opening a port there? Since their minds are set to wherever they see water is a good spot for seaports."
That's actually hilarious.
That's Yinka Bolu. And
Alright.
Ni Lomo says that this new Lekki port will make the congestion on Lekki Ekpe Road worse than that of Apapa. Nigerians have been subdued and intimidated into submission by the government in power. I hope Nigerians will come out to vote in 2023.
All I know is along the Lekki Expressway, where we see the turnoff to some major projects that are going on, people are already saying there's so much traffic already.
Well, I mean, the anticipation, this is according to some reports that came out a couple of years ago when they were commissioning this port in Lekki, is that that traffic would not come into Lagos, that it will connect to the other aspect of Shagamu, and then so subsequently the Lagos Ibadan Expressway, so it won't come back this way. That is the plan, but as we know in Nigeria, plans are just words.
Yes. For everyone else, the best laid plans of mice and men, but for Nigeria, something else.
Right.
We've got this one in Punch newspaper. Now, federal government announces reconnection of bombed Abuja Kaduna train line. A statement issued by the NRC stated that major track work on the rail line had been completed and that services would soon resume with additional security measures put in place. Waji, I'm not sure what you think about when you see this particular story, but my mind still goes back to the victims and those who have not yet been returned.
Thank you. I think it's a very tone-deaf statement release to come out and say that we are going to repair and bring back online the Abuja Kaduna Railway. But then a few days earlier this week, there was a release from the terrorists, and use that word, who had kidnapped individuals, and then now showing the individuals who have been kidnapped. And these people have families, they have loved ones that they have to account for, who are also equally going to be going through despair, watching their families go through such traumatizing situations and experiences. So for the government to come out and begin to talk about recommencing that particular rail network and going into specifics about the company and what they need to do, et cetera, is highly insensitive and tone deaf. I think the focus should now be how do we get these people home safely, and then we can now subsequently have a conversation around reconnecting that train line.
But then again, on the other side of the coin, there is the issue of the citizens of Kaduna who have had their access out of Kaduna, systematically removed from them, be it by plane, be it by train, be it by car, be it by expressway, where people are just kidnapping and attacking.
Shokpe, I agree with you. My issue is the communication. So if you want to reconnect the train line, but let it not be
Without the
news.
pomp and
Circumstance. The focus should be on the narrative, which is we need to get people home safely. People who have
Okay.
been kidnapped, people who are currently being terrorized. That should be the narrative, not that we are going to reconnect the train line. If you want to do that, do it with some level of subtlety and sensitivity, and then you can now carry on with everything else.
All right, back to the messages. Austin from Satellite says, why can't governments develop southeastern ports? What has the southeast done to Nigeria? Well, we'll leave the question there. We have Gilbert.
Gilbert Musa from Festac saying, on the proposed duty on recharge cards, let's ask ourselves if our institutions are strong enough to prevent waste or leakage before thinking of increasing taxes. The reason being the Okigbo panel investigating the operations of the Central Bank of Nigeria in October of 1994 reveals that 12.2 US dollars was diverted to off-budget accounts between 1988 and mid 1990. Okay, that must have been in millions. What did Nigeria do with this report till date? Questions.
Well, Yinka comes in again. He says, which truck traffic won't join Lekki Road? What about the roads that will join? We should go and die there, Abi.
Wow. Okay.
Okay.
Let's move on to our next story.
All right. So this other one is from the This Day newspaper. NSCC NPHDA signed MOU for better healthcare delivery for senior citizens. Now, the NSCC, being the National Senior Citizens Center, has signed a memorandum of understanding with the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency to achieve integrated care for older persons, mainstreaming, geriatric care and geriatric home help into primary healthcare system in Nigeria. Looking at this story, what crossed your mind?
Yeah, it's very important because geriatric healthcare in Nigeria is actually something that is not a focus. You get to a certain age, and then it's literally between you, the family members that you have around you, and whatever creator you believe in. That's literally what it boils down to. So it's a positive move because geriatric healthcare requires a certain level of specialization when you begin to think about the illnesses that come with you being of a certain age and the necessary care that is required. So I welcome it 100%. NSCCC, that's a good move. So let them work with the primary healthcare authorities to be able to get this up and running, because geriatric healthcare, especially for populations that are going to age in the foreseeable future, I think is very, very critical.
All right, then. We've come to the end of the show, but not the end of the conversation, because you can keep conversing with us at Smooth981 FM on Twitter, and with Waji. He is at the Corporate MC. Please spell corporate with a K. At the Corporate with a K MC. And he's up on Twitter, he's up on Instagram, and as are we. Coming up, it is going to be Sports Inside the Locker Room. Waji, thank you as usual for fantastic Firstly Press and your analysis.
And you are most welcome.
All right. Okay, so we will see you 8:15.
You first bang.
All right, our Freshly Pressed
Hi, guys.
watchers,
Very
thank
much,
you
Reggie.
so
No
much.
problemo. All right, I want to see those
for
comments.
president.
Sorry, I want to see those comments if you don't mind.
Hi guys, we're leaving. Thank you very much.